What's up, guys? Rabbi Asher Meza here. I wanted to make a quick video stating something I mentioned many times. I made a few videos on this topic in the past, how Islam is idolatry from a Jewish perspective. Or at least that's the most reasonable approach to the issue. Now, I know you've all heard that Jews could even pray in a mosque and that Jews consider Islam monotheistic. It's absolutely true. Islam is monotheistic. Only because you're a monotheist does not mean you're not an idolater. And I think this is the Rambam's folly. The Rambam, Maimonides, really introduced this idea in the Jewish world, mainly because he was trying to save Jewish lives. In the time of the Rambam, there were radical Islamists named the Almohads that were forcibly converting people to Islam, and there were many Jews dying. Why were they dying? Because the popular opinion, especially at that time, was that Islam was idolatry. So the Rambam wrote a letter chastising every rabbi who considered Islam idolatry, telling the Jews, no, you don't have to die. It's not idolatry. A Jew's supposed to anyway converting to an idolatrous religion or worshiping idols. And yes, he saved a lot of Jewish lives. And the loophole he found, or at least mentioned, is the idea that Islam is a monotheistic religion. Now, it's true. If you worship one turtle or one lizard, you are a monotheist. There's no doubt about it. However, you're still an idolater. The thing is, the word idolatry in Hebrew, avodah zarah, doesn't really mean idolatry, right? I guess if you would translate any word in Hebrew to mean what we call idolatry, would be more like avodat pesilim, the worship of statues. Now, for sure, worshiping statues is a form of idolatry. However, the word for idolatry in Hebrew is avodah zarah, foreign service or foreign worship or strange service. That means in some way worshiping God in a way or serving God in a way that he does not or did not prescribe. So if you use that criteria, then Islam is absolutely idolatry, mainly because the way we worship God is by keeping his Torah. And if you're going around saying that the Jews corrupted the Torah or those commandments are no longer applicable, that makes you an idolater from a Jewish perspective. This is unavoidable. There are many rabbis who taught this. Just for some reason, we live in a world of art scroll, Feldheim Judaism, that people really don't research this issue enough, right? But you could look up the Ran, you could look up the Ritva. There are many Geonim who had this opinion that Islam was fully idolatry, only because the Rambam, for sure the Rambam was the most influential philosophical rabbi out there. And he separated the world not between necessarily what belief system aligned itself more with biblical values, but what belief system was more monotheistically sophisticated. And he felt that Islam was sophisticated. I mean, heck, they got the ball rolling mainly because they had to have an issue to attack the Christians on, just so they can justify their existence. And this is why he found it as some sort of redeemable quality that would allow Muslims into the fold as a non-idolatrous religion. To the point that we even know how he related to Aristotle, considering him probably the most perfect man philosophically out there because of the way he related to his rendition of God in such a limitless manner. So this is not the way that our God is in any way measured, or I guess what the Torah would consider avodat elilim, the worship of foreign gods, how that is even gauged in the Torah or even by Chazal. So let's really use our heads when we make these statements, like in some way that Jews have more in common with Muslims than they do with, let's say, Christians. Now, Christianity is a bit interesting, because I would say that traditional Christianity, yes, it falls into the rubric of idolatry, but let's say Messianic Judaism or a Christianity that elevates the Torah does not, because that would be essentially what would consider traditional Christianity as idolatrous, because they toss out the Torah. They say it's no longer applicable. The way you know what God you worship is what that God expects from you. But let's say a Messianic Jew who does not toss away Torah commandments and only really differs with the average Jew on who the Messiah happens to be or how he relates to that Messiah in some, I guess one could say, philosophical manner or even metaphysical manner. And that does not qualify, at least by Chazal standards, as being idolatrous. So I would say that even Messianic Judaism is not idolatry and Islam is idolatry. So prove me wrong.